right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vivek Nikra, and on behalf of Geo Institute, I welcome you all. Before we deep dive into our conversation today, let me introduce our panelists and the moderator for the evening today. We have Abhinay Bhase, Vice President, Data and Product Solutions and Data Science at Denshu International. Alok Srivastava, Director, Data Science at Glance in Mobi. Dipender couldn't join us today because of some emergency. We have Jitendra Singh with us, Head of Data Science and Innovation at WNS. Kaushik Dey, Head of Data Science and Quantum AI at Erection Research. Mohit Bhakuni, Founder and CEO of Quantify. Sukhjit Singh, Technical Director and CTO at AT&T Global Network. Tridib Mukherjee, Vice President, AI Data Science at Games 24/7. So these are the 7 panelists we have for the evening. And we have also one of our senior members from the leadership team, Prerna Gupta, who is going to moderate this session. Thank you, the moderator, and thank you, Prerna, and the panelists for joining us. Before we start, I just would like to request to our audience, please use the chat box to ask your questions. And feel free to ask any kind of questions. This is an open platform. And now I will hand over the virtual stage to Prerna to begin the session. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Vivek, and thanks all the panelists for joining us today in this very important event where for our young professionals and students who are looking to make a career in AI. AI and data science, as we know, have really invaded all our lives, permeated pretty much all the aspects from what food to eat, recommendation engines, search assistants, driving. Everything right now is based on preferences, recommendations that are driven by AI models, and with such a diverse group of experts and on the panel, I would really like to start with with a request of sharing your own personal journeys of how you've made your careers in AI and how how some of the decisions that you might have taken, and what are some of the roles in your organization that young professionals really perform. So I will request each one of you to please take this question, and to begin with, can we start with Sukhjit with you? Am I audible, Vivek?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not sure if he can hear me. Alok, would you like to go first?
Sure, Prerna. I can go first. First of all, hi everyone. Hi everyone to all my panelists, and a huge welcome to all the participants who is there just to understand the entire skill set and how this AI and the data science world is going. Now, Prerna, talking about my journey. So I have overall around 12 years of total experience. The good part is that everything is into data science and the machine learning part of the world. So that gives me that kind of a thing. I have seen how this industry has grown. Basically coming from a predictive analytics, then to data science, machine learning, now with a different kind of a thing into artificial intelligence and all those things. If I talk about my journey, I started with one of the company named Amdocs, where fortunately I got one of the project which is more in terms of the churn prediction, right? Which was something which I started, and I really love the entire work there. Combination of mathematics, statistics, right, and then doing something for the business, which really excite me. And after that, even I thought I'll do my MBA, but I was very sure that I'll come back to the same field. And that's why after my MBA, I joined PwC as a data scientist, and then eventually grew to a senior data scientist, manager data scientist. And when I left, I was more as an associate director data science there, where I was managing the entire financial services data science vertical for them. After that, I thought to also start looking more from the product side, right, to venture into product company, where I got the opportunity to join Amazon. Where I was part of the India machine learning Amazon team, and I was leading their entire data science vertical for Amazon Payments India, right? And presently I am working with InMobi, and I'm leading two of their vertical, SOP 101 and Roposo, mostly from the data science and the advanced intelligence vertical. All right. Just to talk about the new professional and all, my philosophy is very clear. Even for the young professional, when they are joining, we try to give them to end-to-end kind of a project, right? Where they got opportunity to understand problem statement, convert them to a data science problem, think through the solution design, build those solution, and definitely implement the solution and track benefit what we can get by that solution. We provide all the support, we provide all the mentorship, right? For every new professional, we have at least one kind of a buddy or a mentor to support him into the entire journey and everything, right? But our philosophy is very sure, like if you want to understand and learn this, you need to do that. So that's why we believe go and do into the real work, complete end-to-end thing with the entire support. So in my company, even in Amazon and Mobi, we believe even at the junior level, it need to be done the end-to-end kind of a thing. So yeah, Prerna, that's a bit about me.
Thank you, Alok. Thanks so much. Siddip, will you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. I can go next. Hi, everybody. My name is Tridib Mukherjee and welcome to this session. It's always great to talk to the new professionals in this field. So I lead the data science and AI charter in a consumer-facing product space, like in the gaming domain primarily, right? But my journey has been, coming from a research background. So I started my career as an engineer, right? But then went into deep research, deep academic research. Did my PhD and then was in academia for a couple of years, actually in the US. And then ventured into industry research, and I was in industry research for some time, and recently, of late, in the past 5-6 years or so, it's more in the consumer-facing product space, right? And I have seen the evolution of like how science has been. Earlier, science was more to be like for the future, right? Research was to be for the future. I think not anymore, right? I think the digital revolution and data has changed everything, right? Where science is here and now. It's like you need it, right, to differentiate your products in various different segments of life, and it has proliferated, as Prerna said, right, across various domains like healthcare, finance, in the internet product ecosystem, in e-commerce, gaming, name it, right, everywhere. And that has created a lot of multidisciplinary nature of it, right? Even though from data you are trying to understand various different things, but it's getting applied in multiple different domains, although the underneath techniques might be similar, right? But the problems that you are solving is very, very different. And that's the key in general, how you are bringing in your scientific or data skills, right, to solve a real world problem. And that's precisely what in my team, right, or in the organization, that where we have everybody gets, right, including the early professional. In fact, it starts with understanding of the data, like how to interact with the data, how to interpret the data, and then how to utilize the data to come up with something, right, that can make a change, right, in a user's life, right, be it recommendation, be it anything, right? So that's the journey that we go through on a day-to-day basis. So again, thank you.
Even for the young professionals, they have generally, do you hire more research professionals? How do you go about it?
Both, right? It depends, right? It's basically it's a more of an end-to-end, as Alok said, right? If people get flavor of everything, but it starts with like understanding of the data. Somebody coming new has to start with like, what is data, right? Where does it reside, right? What does it mean? And then how applying the concepts of various modeling techniques, right, for the problems at hand, right? Everything gets a new professional gets a flavor of everything. And then finally, right, how it connects to the actual product, right? How it gets deployed, right? How is it making a difference on the end users, right? All of that flavor is open to any new professional. Yes, to begin with, maybe under the mentorship, right, because of the understanding needs that are there. But eventually, right, it's like, somebody is in the water to swim, right? So you will have to start swimming. Yes, initially you will have the life jackets available with you, but ultimately you will swim through the water.
Thank you. So Greet, you want to go next?
Thank you, Prerna. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session. My name is Sukhjeet Singh. I'm Technical Director with AT&T Global Network Services India. And in terms of talking about my experience, now I've reached to a stage where I want to hide my experience, which shows my age. So sometimes I feel that I shouldn't really mention the number of years, but I can tell you my exposure, I will just try to cover in some sense so that you get a better idea about that, how things have evolved in last few decades, right? So I have been in an industry from early 90s, in fact, and and I started with one of the startup in the beginning, but joined IBM later. And that's where I have been working with lot of networking aspects with IBM, and I worked on the mainframe of IBM and also some of the Unisys mainframe, which used to be deployed in very, very old time. And so that kind of experience I have gone through. Data science specifically at this stage, till 2000 mid, I have seen that has been a very, very specialized skills. And in IBM, there has been a data mining products for retail industry, and there has been a lot of talks about the AI and automation that point in time, but mostly those were very, very expensive solution, less commercialized, right? And as other panelists mentioned, that this is something which has been in the labs, but now we see in the reality, and that's how it has happened. And after IBM, I moved to the Cisco, which is a very big networking company. And my background has been all technical all through, and more towards the networking side and looking at different aspects that how we can, do the AI and ML utilization as well as the automation part. From last 14 years, I have been working with AT&T, and that's where I've seen most of the development happening in the data science as well as in automation that has come for us to utilize in a very big way. To start with, I think what we are seeing is this is something which is very important for more specifically as a telecom company for us, because knowing in AT&T we have and every day more than 400 petabyte of data which flows on our network. I'm just taking this figure so that you understand the volume of the data which is available this time and flows every day. Petabyte, for interest of everyone, it is 10 to the power 15. So you can understand the amount of data which is flowing. It gets stored in various different places as well. It's not just the voice and video traffic. Yes, majority of that would be that. Now, once this data is there, we have the technology is available. This is a real asset in industry, and you are the young professionals now coming in the market, and you will have huge opportunity to kind of play with various different things in all these industries. So the potential is huge for you to get into and kind of start working and finding different ways how the business problems can be solved. With respect to what I have been doing here with AT&T, so we are very focused on, from telecom service perspective, a lot of automation and cyber security to make sure that the defense systems are automated, the threat detection mitigation aspects, software-defined networking, and related automation, which can serve to the customer, creating the self-healing networks, and which also can do some of service level automation for the customer. It requires a lot of knowing that we have so much of data, how this have to be done for the customers at the scale of 200 plus countries. We have a big team in India which works along with our other global work centers, and that is where we have the engineers who are placed, and we do a lot of work in this area. Creating a lot of other customer service orientation related tools and processes. That's something which we do internally, knowing that for telecom providers, it is something which is very, very close to their heart to make sure their customers are served well. So I can go on various different areas, what kind of are very, very important in which we are using the AI ML related automation, and data is huge, which is something which certainly requires a very specialized skill, very specialized people to make sure that they can understand and come up with some of the unique solution and create the differentiator. So I kind of take a pause here, and more we will talk in the next points.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. So from the big companies and research organizations, can I now request Mohit to add some flavor on the startup and the entrepreneur world, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Prerna. Good evening, everyone. So my journey, let me start with that. I was with Deloitte Consulting, doing system integration based in the US. Did some work with the algorithms. It started with that, and came back to India with the idea to start something in the internet domain. Had no real insight about what is business, how to build companies, and with some experience working with media companies, Hindustan Times, Indian Express, I realized that there is a lot of information available, and the information volume is increasing. Sukhjit mentioned some petabytes of data which is passed through. So the idea was that there should be a system, there should be a platform or a product that can give me only the information that is relevant for me. And I don't want to search for keywords and Google, because it just keeps throwing out more and more information. So we started thinking about it. And then we realized that we cannot have a business without a business model. So how do we make money? And that's where the corporates are customers, where if you give them something which is of value, they will give you money for that. So we started building this platform, which is Quantify for market and competitive intelligence. Every company competes with other companies. So there is always a competition where you operate in a market, and there is information which is required to take decisions. Yeah. But the information that we need is buried under loads and loads of digital noise, which is across not just the news websites, but there are all thought leaders all over the place publishing content. And we decided that we will build a platform, which is our product, where our customers can listen to the market and their competitive intelligence in a clean manner without the irrelevant updates. So that was general idea. So we approached the data science, approached the machine learning, text analytics from the business problem first. And then we started thinking, like, how should we go about solving it? It is not humanly possible to manually figure out what is relevant or not. That's what some of the research companies were doing, but that's not scalable and that's not the future. And we started by just simple clustering algorithms, like this is sports, this is entertainment, kick it out, this is business. And then went deeper. And it's a very interesting domain, because there are business problems. For example, a simple problem is Apple mentioned in a text. Is it a company or a fruit? It's a very simple problem. So we solved that problem using different kind of algorithms. It's solved. And then the problem comes, is it about Apple company, or is it just a mention of Apple company? Again, there is interesting ways to solve that problem. So so it's been over a decade that we are solving. We have over 200 customers, but I feel that we are still scratching the surface. We are telling our customers that these are the business partnerships happening in the competitive landscape. It's still far better what can find on Google, but where we are is just the beginning of what the future is, where we can build a knowledge graph, connect the entities together, derive insights, and many things. So we'll talk about them as we go on in this discussion. But from the young professionals' point of view, we interview a lot of data science people, and both at some experience level and fresh out of college. What we find is that most of the people have done, has got some hand dirty with playing around with algorithms. It's easy. It's easy to try out different things. But when we go a level deep, it's like, have you spent enough time in solving a problem? And after the algorithm stops, after the out-of-the-box technology stops, how do you fine-tune it? What insights do you have to understand that this is the way we solve a problem? And that's where we find that many people have done POCs, different POCs, but depth is missing. But we don't expect depth all the time. What we expect is the curiosity, is to understand how these technologies work, how these algorithms perform or do not perform, and be open to learning, because there is no depth to it. When we find people, they say that they know ML or NLP, and with the confidence that they have done it, they know how it is solved, then we know that it's a very shallow person. The real person, they talk with humility, and they can explain the problems they have solved and the problems that are not yet solved. So my submission here is that start the journey and think about the problems you are solving, not just the technology. So it's right in the middle is the solution. That's all from my side.
Thanks, Mohit. Our two program mentors, Larry, he's actually a NLP, expert, I would say. He may not, as you said, humble and humility. He also started a company, Narrative Science. They use data to write stories, interestingly, sports stories. And the other mentor, Dr. Shailesh, is a data scientist. And he always says that, come with the problem first, and then we will bring out a solution. So you very nicely, summarized both these aspects that we keep hearing from them all the time. Thank you so much.
I've not spoken about the mistakes that we did. We'll talk about it. Lots of mistakes we did, yeah, and then we learn from that.
Of course. Thank you. Jitendraji, can you go next?
Yeah, thank you. So good evening to all of you once again. So small intro about myself. So I'm a head of data science and innovation at WNS, as my logo background says. My background in terms of academics, so I'm an engineer in mechanical engineering and then a master in applied mathematics. And many people are laughing when I chose to go for applied mathematics. But maybe my calling was that because I enjoy doing mathematics. So that's how my academic was. And then I worked with different companies or in early days, because back in 2000, when I graduated from German University, I think we were not doing too much of machine learning. It was more of a numerical method. So that's what my specialization was, in computational fluid dynamics, writing programs in Python, and then later on in C++ kind of a thing. But then post 2010, probably a lot of things started emerging on the horizon in terms of library, where we can quickly build ML models, which we were doing from scratch, like building our own program and everything. And that's how things have picked up. So my take is, so in terms of my background, so till maybe 2016-17, I was in a company as an engineering technology leader in Ingersoll Rand. And then I took a break and started my own company in fintech space, and I built something using ML, basically technique to maximize the return without taking help of a consultant. That's what my product was. And I did this for about 3.5 years, and then again joined back WNS and in front of you. In terms of what Mohit talked about, I think very important point. For me, data science is basically a combination of three things put together. So it depends what you choose, what's your strength, and where you are kind of mediocre and you want to learn from. So domain is the key, because data science is all about solving a problem. And we can solve a problem only when we understand the domain. And I clearly see on a day-to-day basis, being in service company, we work for insurance company, banking and financial services, retail, supply chain, you name it. And I clearly see that domain leg is very, very important if we are successful in solving a problem. When we struggle, we clearly see that we probably need something in terms of understanding the problem or the domain itself. Then whatever we are building in today's world, as Sukhjit said, we are talking about very large scale application. We are maybe serving in some cases 100, 200, 500 million user in real time kind of a recommendation and all that. So again, you need a scalable microservices based architecture to basically orchestrate whatever you have built. So you really need to have a good software skill as well. Again, everything need not to be bundled in one person, but an understanding of that will help when you are executing a real world problem. And then I think Mohit was touching this point very well. We need to be deep rooted in mathematics, because end of the day, data science is all about mathematics. So when I ask a very basic question to young budding data scientists that how machine is learning, and then they fail to answer this question, right? So end of the day, there is a model behind it, and the equation is what you are basically trying to build by iterative method and all those things. So that basic understanding will take you a long way in this domain. As I said in the beginning, all three things are not possible to have in one go, but that's where you start with one side and then try to build the strength on the other two, and then so on and so forth. So for a fresher, it's not possible, but as we graduate, and maybe could be a good indicator that how you are progressing in this domain or what's your future in this domain, you can quickly measure your strength in these areas, and you can quickly figure out how good you are in this space. So that's where we are positioned. From a recruitment or a talent mix, so probably we are lucky to have a good mix of people in our company, both from a domain software background, mathematics background. In terms of probably Pranay, you were talking about gender diversity. So we do have many young data scientists coming from female background as well, and we do encourage them. But yeah, our recruitment process is very clear that we try to see in one bucket they are strong, and in other two buckets they are willing to learn. That's the way we kind of approach the problem. We don't expect them to be expert in all three at any point in time. So that's the short one. Maybe we'll pick up the Q&A session, and then we'll elaborate it more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Abhinay, would you like to add? Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely. Thanks, Prerna. I think firstly, it's great that a lot of people have actually found the time. I think about 70 of us have found the time to actually come onto this panel today, and I'm sure a lot more will probably see it. It's very important to have these real world industry connects in addition to the academics you learn, because often we study one thing and then something completely different goes on in the real world, right? So I think that it's very pertinent and great to be on a part of an esteemed panel. A quick introduction to me. So I'm Abhinay. I lead the data sciences division. I actually founded it for Dentsu across Asia Pacific. I actually started off my career. So I come from an economics background. I did my post-graduation in economics, and then I started my career in advertising, actually more of a little to what Mohit said he would do in terms of understanding consumers. So I was playing a very active role in strategy for some of the largest accounts that Dentsu has to offer. I then co-founded the data sciences team of Dentsu about 6.5, 7 years now or so. And I guess the rest is history from that point of view. What we've essentially done, or what we do as a team, is we've created ad tech, martech products and solutions to actually help brands understand their audiences better, their customers of their competitors also better, to try to find out how to reach their next valued customer a lot more efficiently. Now, a lot of people talk about data sciences as a profession. I think nearly everyone on this panel who's spoken actually comes from an engineering or computer sciences background. And the fact of that matter is because 8 to 10 years ago, when a lot of us, or at least I, started my career, this skill set didn't exist. This entire stream didn't exist. It was, I think, like a lot of our panelists have already said, it's nothing but an advanced application of mathematics, statistics merged with computer programming. That is fundamentally what data sciences is all about. So it's fundamentally a skill set to focus on rather than a profession from that point of view. And I feel that the ability to handle data, to understand it, to process it, and I think commonly what everyone said is to have an inquisitive mind, is really the skill set that is going to become as important as literacy. Because whatever profession, whatever career, whatever position, I think the ability to understand data and make meaningful sense of it is what's really going to drive you forward in that. So a lot of what we look for, even, and to address your question, right, what do we look for in talent that actually joins our team, is nothing but a kida, as we say, right? Or having an inquisitive mindset to actually figure out a problem, wanting to use everything in your capability, most likely statistical tools, to actually try to explain how that problem occurs and how to solve that. I think that's fundamentally what data sciences really is. And that's what we actually look for, that inquisitive mindset. Because everything in terms of coding, in terms of everything. There's nothing like a world's best coder, the world's best programmer, right? All these skill sets are actually developed, but the inquisitive mindset is something that that we actually put, or at least I do personally, in terms of putting a weightage on a candidate for.
Wonderful. Thanks, Abhinav. I'll circle back to this once again. But before that, Kaushik, would you like to share your personal journey and how you made a career in data science? And also, for young professionals, what are the kind of roles available in your team?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. First, I apologize. I was a few minutes late, so probably I was not present when you were doing the initial introduction. But then just to introduce myself quickly, so I had the machine learning and the AI research in Ericsson. And and before that, I was in the practice head for the analytics function, but that was more in product development. And before that, I came from IBM. So, sorry, what was the next question? There were a couple of questions, I think, points that you would...
Yeah, we just basically wanted to, know your journey and how you made a transition into data science and AI. If there was a natural progression, or if you've done something specific over the years.
Yeah.
And for young professionals, what are the kind of roles and opportunities in your team?
Okay. So I think some of the panelists before me, they have highlighted very nicely that how you kind of grow into this journey of data science. First of all, it's not something that will happen very quickly. So this is a long haul kind of skill. So if somebody who is interested, somebody who wants to be a data scientist, he should be prepared to give quite a few number of years in that. It doesn't mean that you can't get a job before those number of years are over, but before you yourself can get that confidence. And there is a curve, like, right, I've seen that curve. I don't have it handy, but it shows like when you start, after a few months, you feel that, okay, I know everything. And then when you keep going deeper and deeper, you feel kind of your confidence starts dipping. You come to a point where, you realize that you know nothing. And then you again start climbing back. You climb back and then you figure out that, okay, now I am slowly learning something. And then that's the point you really start learning. So there are probably many courses like data science in 6 months, or probably in 3 months also, I don't know. But I have never figured out how to learn it in 3 months or 6 months from scratch. Now with respect to, skills, there are, of course, there are different specializations. Now the data science, the overall data science track has matured from what it was even 5 years back, or even 3 years back. So now we have different professions. There could be a data scientist, there could be a consultant who is more engaging with the customer and understanding what kind of solutions you need, the customer needs. There could be a kind of a sales professional, and there could be a project manager. So there are these various roles which are coming in the data science domain. And then there could be a researcher. So for each of these roles, the level of competence that you need is different, and the combination of skills that you need is also different. And so it is difficult to right now, kind of say that, okay, this is what you want. Rather, maybe since I come from a research function, I can talk about the research. So if you want to go into a data science research, it's certainly not it's a long haul, definitely. So you need to have I think some of the esteemed panelists were speaking before me, that you need to definitely be strong on maps. If you don't have a maps background, you need to build over it. And then you need to know, all the nuances of statistics, linear algebra. Then you start learning what we call as, say, machine learning. And then once you are familiar with the machine learning, once you've used it, you go into deep learning. Then when you go into deep learning, you start learning the various kinds of things, like starting from computer vision to language models to reinforcement learning. And then you select that, okay, this is what I want to do. In our world of research, we don't get a person who knows everything. We don't get a person who knows, reinforcement learning. Also, he is great at NLP. Also, he is equally strong in computer vision. It is very difficult to find. Probably some legends are there, but it's not easy to find. So you need to take your pick at that point, that, okay, now I'm at this point where I'm going to specialize. And at that point, you need to, you should have some papers in international journals or top conferences on that specific subject, and you come across as an expert on that subject. And then you apply, to the relevant research labs which are recruiting, say, either for NLP or for reinforcement learning or for computer vision, or maybe in the newer areas, there are newer areas like neuromorphic or quantum, you apply there. So being specific is the key when you come to very, functions like research.
Thank you.
Yeah, probably I'll stop there. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I hear that, a lot of mathematical skills, statistics, economics, that kind of algorithmic or mathematical bent is needed. And that's pretty much it, combined with computer programming, as Abhinay mentioned. Also, some level of curiosity and inquisitiveness is essential to understand a data problem. But in addition to these, what are some of the skills that you're really looking for and you find a gap in professionals or, people who studied some of these new age academic programs these days? Because now there is a proliferation of, so many such academic programs that have come about. So what should they focus on in terms of developing? And this is open, anybody who would like to go first, it's an open question. Yeah, Mohit, I see you would like to take it up.
What area to focus on? I think, okay, a philosophical answer is easy one is we need to know where we have to go for the decision, right? And that's the most difficult part, to figure out where we need to go, because after that things are easy. Then the next step and the next step and the next step. So to figure it out, which field of data science, machine learning, image processing, text analytics, where would you like to go? Is try out few things, but also speak with the people who have spent time, like these panels. Have some mentors. It's extremely important if you can get the right mentor and consult and discuss, like, what are the future prospects and what do you do as you grow in this career, like what kind of problems you face. These are like my initial thoughts on if I was starting as a young professional, and if I'm a younger 20 years self of Mohit, this is what I would tell myself.
I think jumping into it next and probably adding to what Mohit said, right? Like, in addition to that, I think the one fundamental thing that you do require, and maybe a bit philosophical here, is passion, right? You have to be deeply passionate about what you're doing and know that this is something that you want to sort of build yourself on. The domain in which you're applying this skill set is something that you have to be deeply passionate about, because as you go deeper into a lot of these technical functions, the whole day is going to be spent with you talking to a machine, right? You're going to spend your time in front of a black screen with like green lines of code or white lines of code, right? So you have to be really passionate about the kind of problem that you're solving. That's the only way that's going to keep you even up at night to actually try to fix that problem. So I think that's something that you would look for. It's not more of a hard skill. It is a soft skill, but it's definitely a fundamental skill from that point of view.
So Prerna, I will just add 10 seconds of this. So,
yeah, please go ahead.
So without taking name of the company, I was basically consulting for this online company for about a year and a half on this data science course, which you talked about. And then probably Kaushik referred like 3 months, 6 months program learning data science. So my only humble submission could be for young coding, aspiring data scientists, that this course will come and go in a jiffy. You will not realize what you did. By the time 10 POCs will be over and your course will be over. So choose what you want to really do, and at least in 1 or 2 POCs area, probably you need to deep dive before you jump into any interview. Because otherwise the interviewer will ask you, what did you do? And then you stop just by just saying a high level problem statement, because you really did not go further down into it. So there might maybe a simple comment there.
Just to build, just to add, Jitendra, what you just said is exactly what my experience and our experience has been. We interview, and many people have done a lot of things, but not depth at any one of them. And then we say, all right, that's fine. We will find the right person one day. And what just Vinay mentioned about the passion, I think it's very important for us to understand that the passion means that you are willing to burn yourself for that. And when the burning happens, when you are not able to figure out things and you're still trying and burning, and that's what I think the passion is. And then we start getting things slowly.
Absolutely. Sudev and Alok, I see your mics are on. So if you would like.
Just want to add on to the point of long haul. I think the long haul doesn't end at the end of a course, right? I think the long haul is for the entire life, because I think one of the constant thing that is there in this particular area is change and evolution, right? Every day new techniques get researched, new algorithms get comes in the market, right? And you have to keep learning, you have to keep adapting. I remember like 10 years back, 15 years back, when I was doing my PhD, I was proposing something in neural networks, and it was thought to be impractical at that point in time. And just 5-10 years down the line, it was like normal. It's in the production almost, right? In many cases. So I think the point that I'm trying to make is change, and you need to have that mindset to learn and evolve over and over and over again, right? So, and if you ever get into a mindset that you know everything, right, be prepared to fail, right? Because the only thing that you can say that I'm in a good mind space when you know what you don't know, right? That's the only thing you know, right? And then that creates that mind space of how you can keep on evolving and learning over time. I think that's the fundamental soft skill, if I may add to the soft skill concept over this particular area.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Prerna, I would like to add 2 more points in this, right? One thing what I feel during the initial part of the career, once they is out from the institute and all, they understand the basic, maybe some of the algorithm and all, but sometimes the application of those algorithm on real business problem, right? That part is missing to a certain level, because from the data science perspective, if you see, anything what we are doing is to solve a certain problem which can bring a certain dollar value to the company, right? So that's why learning more from the application of what we are reading throughout these courses and all, and trying to apply into different perspective, that is also very important to understand. Which is one thing. And just the second point, just coming more from the product company mindset, right? I was just looking into one number. So in 2019, there was a number which tells like 88% of what kind of a models, the data science models and the solution that we are building, which is not being utilized in the production environment. Basically, what we are telling that 88% of the work which we are using is not providing any kind of a dollar benefit to the company. So in the last couple of years, I have also seen lots of push on those kind of a skill set, which is more to bring the productionization or the deployment of these kind of a model. So that's why I have seen lots of product companies also looking more from the full stack or end-to-end engineers, mostly like a machine learning engineers or ML ops engineer, which can help the different data scientists and the entire team to make these model work into production. So I also believe during our learning and all, these should be also 2 important parameters that the students should focus on.
Thanks, Alok. So Gigi?
Yeah, hi. So I'm really amazed to see the passion of the panelists itself. I would say that I'm sure the participants anyway, being they young, very much will be more passionate, I guess. So that's amazing. I think on the technology, we can always learn. That's something which is possible. We try it once, we learn it. But like all panelists already talked about the challenges related to that, in terms of continuously attempting it, and even if you fail, try it again, be passionate about it. On top of that, I would say that if a deciding factor whether you are really enjoying it is that when you get the success, are you really enjoying it? That is something, if you enjoy it, next time you do it, even the bigger one, and continue to do it, continue to build upon it. and I can tell you, I mean, this is something which is amazing. Commitment is extremely important. If you get into something, see that, are you doing it well? And if you are doing it, succeeding it, are you enjoying it? And that's, if I look, many, years back, whenever I get into something, I want to really get into something which is new, right? And that's how everybody is here excited about, okay, this is one area we want to try it out and we want to do it. You can certainly do it, try it out. And most of, people I see that they might be already in some or other profession already. If they are trying to switch it, they certainly can do it. And I can tell you, whether you see in the participant itself, we come from the very diverse background in terms of the education and the experience as well. This is something which is possible. It's something which is, you can see in the panel itself, and you can decide how you want to pursue yours one. It's going to be a very unique path for everyone. There's no one solution fitting to all, and it has to be crafted by every individual by deciding the right path and taking the guidance. And many times institutes like, and the course which Geo runs, I was going through it. I thought if this was available for me when I was young. So this is something amazing opportunity, by the way.
Thank you so much. In fact, here I would like to highlight how I would summarize this, like hands-on approach, lifelong learning, passion, curiosity, and, like really getting hands dirty, dig deeper rather than, going with the breath. That's pretty much all that is what, we've also put in as an essential ingredient, for the program. And in terms of domain knowledge, definitely, and that's the reason why, the eligibility for the programs is 18 months experience and more, because some domain understanding, the problem or the passion to which you want to apply the learning is what we are also looking for. So thank you, this kind of ratifies what we are doing here. Last question from my side, and then, I'll take some audience questions. Despite our amazing effort, we still have all men on this panel. And I would really like to understand, if there are certain specific initiatives that your organizations are taking, or you see, other industry in general is taking to add diversity, to add more women in more leadership roles within your organizations. Anyone?
So maybe I'll go first, Prerna. So yes, as I said already, we are cognizant of this fact, and the company has a kind of a planned initiative, 5 years, 10 years plan to pull more and more basically women into leadership roles. So we call it bringing the gender diversity at a leadership level or a decision making, and we are making conscious effort. It's just that maybe at least in India the demography was little skewed in favor of male, that they were in job and ladies were not in job. But I think in software industry things have changed a lot. I think at a company level we could be easily around 30-35% versus 60-65%. So already at a bottom level or mid level things are looking pretty bright. You are right that at a senior level we do have a gap, and that's where we are big conscious effort to promote, give them an opportunity to excel in those areas. So yes, companies are putting in effort, at least in a conscious way.
Thank you.
Right.
I think sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry.
No, go ahead,
you go ahead, please. Okay. So I was just saying that this is a very, very interesting, aspect, and which certainly requires a focus. And thanks for bringing that point up. This is, the way the diversity can bring the value. It's very, very underestimated at this point in time. And this is, I think, in most of the global companies I'm seeing across, it's a very, very key focus area to make sure that the right balance is maintained from diversity perspective. If I talk about my own company, we actually have multiple initiatives which are aligned into that direction to make sure that we can bring more diversity in all the aspects, and bringing more female into the technology field. That's something which is going to bring a lot of difference in overall work functionality and the way the overall things are evolving as a for any company, by the way. Knowing that technologies are same, it's all, knowing the COVID, they can, a lot of work can happen anywhere from anyone, right? So this is something which is a platform is already there. From initiative perspective, we have many. In fact, one which I can highlight is that we have a community within our company created for specifically for this purpose, which is we call Asia Pacific Women's Organization. And this is being all obviously the women's are part of that organization, and that is actually the committee. And a lot of our leaders, most of our leaders are part of that initiative. So every, very frequently in a month, every month, 2 times, or maybe depending on to the different frequencies, they keep coming and share their leadership views and share that how they are looking at different aspects, which includes the technology aspect, respect the cybersecurity aspect, IoT, 5G, data science, automation, and talk about all these technologies. Not only the technologies, they even come and bring the aspects with respect to the legal aspects, financial aspects, and all those, which brings awareness into the women for themselves to go into a higher leadership role, as well as from the technology perspective, grow themselves. Also spread the same knowledge further beyond to their, in their circle, within the from the personal as well as professional circle, which is something which we have seen is very, very helpful in terms of bringing the awareness across. And I thought of that. It will be good to mention that. I'm sure many other companies are doing it, but that's something which I thought of sharing.
Thank you so much. I think that definitely adds value. Binay?
Yeah, so I think echoing what Sukhjit said, right? I think actually it's not just women in leadership. Women councils, I think, exist pretty much in every company that we can think of now, but it's the entire wave of DEI, right? Like diversity, equity, and inclusivity. That's something that a lot of companies are focusing on. Dentsu specifically has DEI councils and chief DEI officers in every region from that point of view. I think fundamentally, if you're looking at it as women in code or promoting those kind of statements, right? I mean, I think the diversity of this panel, you included, is what a typical engineering classroom or a data sciences classroom in India would actually look like today, right? I mean, you'll have like maybe 2-3% female and the rest of it is just male. I think that statistic itself puts such a weight on it that it becomes really hard for it to translate as you move higher on. So I think there are initiatives that are being taken. I think I feel that there is a wave where women do also look at taking up coding, and I really hope that there are a lot of movements that promote that. But I think that statistic does need to drastically change for the industry to change overall from that point of view.
Yeah, and if I might just add to what Abhinay said, that's very true. I mean, this is kind of representative, the overall panel, but things are changing. The good thing is that when we go to colleges, we see the ratio is changing from what it was, say, about 15 years back. We have more women in engineering. So I'm very hopeful that things will change. Now, coming back to policies, like, of course, there is a very distinct policy where we are trying to get more women in all functions, like in all kinds of different job roles, be it product development, research, sales or consultant functions, and then also across various job levels. Like it could be a director, it could be a coder, but we should have the right representation in all levels. And not only us, I think most of the companies are striving towards that. So I really look forward to the day when we will have the right ratio, and probably not only in the companies, but also in the panel.
Absolutely. Thank you. In fact, our founders, both Mr. and Mrs. Ambani, they constantly tell us that we should aim to achieve gender parity in all our programs, not just at a university level, but at the program level, which itself, sometimes because it's a merit-driven initiative and everything, I'm sure your companies and everywhere, you can't have hard affirmative actions, but still, we try to promote, and we are hoping to achieve parity even within all our programs as well as we go along. So thank you. I know that we have about 5 minutes left, and there are a lot of questions that we have from our attendees. So I'll take maybe 1 or 2 questions and pose it to the panel. So first question is from Dr. Piyush Bishnoi. Are skills in parallel computing an area where young professionals will have opportunities within India over next 4 years, as algorithms may need to be accelerated for real time for products? Can I pose it to both of you from research? Would you like to take this up?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think big data, is the fundamental for anything to do on top of it, right? I think I represent a product company now, right? So, and I can tell, right, in a real-time streaming mode, there is a millions of users' data that we have to deal with, right? Terabytes of data information that we have to deal with, right? So, of course, parallel computing is fundamental, understanding of it, but we also need to understand there is a lot of tools that are available today, right, to handle various such things, right? So as I say, in the spirit of like lifelong learning, so we need to bring in continuous innovation on top of something which is already there. Having said that, yes, absolute need for parallel computing and execution in terms of distributed computing in general, right? How we can accelerate the overall data processing as well as the deployment of the model while handling such huge volumes of data in real time is an absolute necessity of the hour. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Kaushik. Dr. Kaushik, you wanted to add something to this?
No, I think Trideep covered it pretty well.
Okay.
That, and of course, when we look at parallel computing, there are various kinds of way you can do that. So are you more close to the hardware? Are you more close to the software? When we are talking about parallelizations, are we talking about in machine learning? Are we talking about something like federated learning? So what are we probably talking about? The question may be better answered through being more specific.
All right. One more question, and then I'll ask for your closing thoughts. So there is a lot of open source information, resources, applications, everything available. So in such a case, how important is formal education to pursue a career in this field?
I'd actually like to jump into that, right? So I think that in some ways through our discourse, we've addressed that, because formal education is one thing, but it's literally about like the real problems that you solve for, whether you've actually gone deep into that, whether you're passionate about it. I think those are the skill sets that fundamentally everyone sort of evaluates for, right? Because I think, as Sukhjit also said earlier in his when he was talking, is that if it's about a skill set of Python or coding or any language or any of that, those, if you have a fundamental knowledge of it, you keep learning and enhancing that as you go along, right? But I think it's not so much that formal education will take you to one stage, but it's actually your ability to genuinely understand a problem, the domain in which you're solving it, and then come up with a fix. I think that is what the emphasis really is on from that point of view.
So maybe Prerna will add just quick
Yes.
one. I mean, the simple way of looking at it would be like opportunity cost. So in early days in your career, when you are just passing from college at a graduate or a postgraduate level, 2-3 years of additional study will cost you very little, and that will go a long way if you do that. But if you try to do the same thing after 10-12 years of experience, the opportunity cost is steep or very high, and that doesn't happen in most of the cases. So simple answer: economically, it makes more sense to go and get it done in early days, whatever study and degree you need, and then just go and build your career from there on.
And the longer, another way to look at it is in my experience in spending, with knowing some very, very affluent and rich people, they say that the best use of money is travel and education. The rest, everything is just material, and it just goes for waste.
Absolutely. I think that's a very nice way to put it, Mohit. In fact, of course, experience is very important, but education is very important too. And, we have seen various schools of thought saying that, well, you don't need formal education. Bill Gates dropped out, but well, not everyone is Bill Gates. How many Bill Gates we had, in the last 30 years? So education, I think, is important. It will stay important. And I think somebody was putting it, it's always better to get those education when you start the career. And if you cannot do it, sometimes it happens that, some other conditions you cannot pursue higher education. Then even I think take it up, you can take it up while you are somewhere in the career. That's fine too. But I think we are far from that point when education will become not so important. Standing today, it's important.
And if I may add-
I can. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Trey.
No, I was just saying that, and education is something that we also look for while hiring, right? So just wanted to make things material also a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my point was also to cover that, what you said rightly. See, if you are lucky if you got into the right education at the right time in your career, okay, that's something you should thank and you should be happy about it. That's very important. It's valued by industry for sure. If not, doesn't matter. Like, it's fine. If you want to, basically, if you, like in the panelists, I heard that mechanical engineer, I've seen chemical engineers, they're getting into the computer programming and doing extremely well, right? So what happened in that is they got graduated, they spent doing graduation in some specific areas. They couldn't leverage probably as much they should have if they were doing into the computer science or maybe with a specialization, but that's okay. So point is, you are lucky if you have the right education. If not to be disappointed. It's it's something which you have to decide today to do the right thing now, what you have to, and you have to define formal courses, I would say, which are valued by industry. Open source and going through learning skills, which is freely available, is all fine. You should anyway do it. It is all free, right? So important is that go for certifications, go for formal learning process, which is part of which is valued in the industry for hiring. For sure, that's important. Not to be disappointed if you are changing streams. That is also very much possible. Many people do it.
Thank you. I think we have a lot more questions and I can go on and on. This is very, very enriching discussion. So we will continue it perhaps at a later time. But before we close, I would just like, just one round of closing thoughts, maybe in quick few sentences from everyone. Alok, you want to go first? You're first on my screen.
Yeah, sure, Pran, I can go. First of all, I'd just like to tell audience, right? They must have heard like data science is like kind of a sexiest job for 21st century. I would say like the next decade is for data science, machine learning professional. The apt time to be a part of this industry, right? There's still lots and lots of demand. The supply is not up to the demand. So I would feel one of the best time to be part of this field. The future is for this. So I encourage everyone to look into this field and come into this field. And as we discussed, don't look into to learn everything. Whatever that you are best, utilize that, right? Work on your strength and try to be part of this field. The future is ours. That's all.
Thank you. Sudev?
Oh, nothing much to add than what have already been discussed, right? Just 2 points to further emphasize on, or 3 points rather. Strengthen your fundamentals, give the time to make it strong, right? Number 1. Number 2, be a lifelong learner, have that attitude. And third is be a detective, an investigator, because that's what you need to do with data, right? You will have to dig deep, like understand, connect all the dots, why this is happening. You have all the data as an information, be a detective and create that mindset. And yeah, we look forward to seeing some of you in the industry at some point in time.
Thank you. Sujit?
Yeah, so very quickly, I just want to say that potential is huge. Technology is here. It's a big opportunity. So you have the passion, you have all the right thing falling together. Industry needs a lot of resources in this area. So wish you all the best. Thanks for participating very quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Mohit?
Yeah. Just one point is also be aware of a lot of hype. there are many promises being made by AI, and let's be very pragmatic. And as I said earlier, try to find a mentor so that you are realistic, and it's a lot of maths. So it's not all a glamour AI and in big words. It's just basic fundamental stats. Yeah, so be ready to know what you are getting into, and you have the right attitude to excel on it or not. So that's pretty much all.
Great advice. Kaushik?
Yeah, I think data science is going to enable some fantastic innovations, and it will probably change the way many of us live lives, at least in next 2 decades. So it's a very exciting journey, but of course, as the fellow panelist also put it, you should have that tenacity, you should have that fire in the belly in order to master it, and all our good wishes. And thank you for organizing such a nice conference.
Thank you so much, Kaushik. Abhinay?
I think people often get so fixated on this fact of what is like the perfect career path, or what are the perfect set of courses that I really need to do. I think it's important, especially if you're going to get into this field, right? I think it's important to understand that you need to come in with the right attitude and an experimentative mindset, right? Because I think to quote, I think one of the most quoted quotes is what Steve Jobs really said at his Stanford commencement address, right? The dots do connect looking backward. So just like get into it with the right passion, the right intention. You're going to learn something new. You don't need to invest so much if you don't like it. Just come into the mindset that you want to try something, figure out something new, see what happens. But yeah, this is definitely, like I said, the ability to understand and process data is going to be a fundamental skill set, as important as literacy in any profession. So just get into it with that spirit.
Yeah, and also reminded me of stay hungry and stay foolish. So yeah, thank you so much for such great advice, and in such short 1 hour, I think there is so much fine words and enriching words that participants would have heard. Thank you so much all for your time, and we hope to keep this conversation going. We hope that that we don't stop here, and we really motivate a large set of young professionals to pursue career in these fields. It really is an area that will lead to a lot of transformation in the future. Thanks to all the panelists once again, and the participants for joining us today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for everything.
Thanks, guys. Bye.